I've been baking sourdough for 20 years, but apparently it wasn't real until last week. Sometime in the winter of 2004, I picked up my copy of Peter Reinhardt's Bread Baker's Apprentice and turned to the sourdough chapter. My first loaf wasn't very good, nor was my second, but I kept at it. Eventually I got a good loaf of bread and then a really good loaf of bread. I tasted it and it was the best bread I'd ever eaten in my life. It wasn't popular or trendy, but I was hooked. I baked on a large baking stone. Steam was introduced through spray bottles and a steam pan on the lowest oven rack. It was complicated. No, I didn't use a Dutch oven. This was pre-2006 when an article by Mark Bittman in the New York Times introduced to the world the idea of baking crusty bread in a covered Dutch oven to mimic a stone deck oven. Eventually, sourdough became popular and I opened my micro bakery, selling my loaves to my community. At one point, I was baking almost 150 loaves a week in 2 stone deck micro bakery ovens and sharing my process online. And then the comments that came in. Your sourdough isn't real sourdough because you don't bake in a Dutch oven. Trying to explain that the pot doesn't make the bread sometimes felt like an exercise in futility. A genre of bread had become synonymous with a method of baking it. One that I'd actually never tried, though I'd been baking sourdough for years. Which brings me to last week. My micro bakery closed, baking sourdough in my home kitchen again, using a Dutch oven for the first time. I figured this method is so popular, I should probably try it out. And now, I have a question for the naysayers. After 20 years, does my sourdough finally count as real?